It's June Claude Van Damme, and we watched Timecop. Let's get into it. Timecop is from 1994. It lasts about an hour and 40 minutes. It stars Jean-Claude Van Damme as Max Walker. It stars Mia Sara as his wife, Melissa. And it stars Ron Silver as Senator Aaron McComb. Right. Do you want the tagline? Yes, please. They killed his wife 10 years ago. There's still time to save her. Okay. Now this, have you seen this before? Yeah, this movie. As soon as it came out on VHS, I went to the store and bought it. I had seen a clip for it on Barry Norman's film review, film 94 or whatever it was called.
Barry Norman returns to BBC One.
It came out on VHS, I was at that video store buying it, and I took it home and I watched it on a rainy afternoon and loved it. Well, it opens up on a rainy afternoon. It does. And then the next scene takes place on a rainy afternoon. Yeah, the house. Yeah. It's a bit miserable in this world. Well, we'll get there when we get there. But right now, let's have a look at the poster. So, this is pretty standard fare. Van Damme, his big face, the little effects around it with the title, and, you know, I mean it doesn't need to tell you a lot. Let's look at this other poster. Okay, that's fine. Right, okay, it's okay. But, to be honest, with the posters for this movie, they don't need to do much, because the title tells you everything you need to know. Timecop, a cop who goes through time. Exactly.
Did you see Timecop? He, totally changed time.
And that is what this movie is. Time travel has been discovered, invented, created, I don't know, and they need a task force to make sure that people don't go back, to make themselves rich, to take out baby Hitler or anything like that, because there will be ripples in time. Yeah, they say that in this movie, and then there are no ripples at all for anything. Anyway, let's talk about the movie. The first in our June Claude Van Damme month. As you said, the movie opens up on a rainy afternoon, but not a rainy afternoon present day. It's like 1883 or something. Civil War times. You don't really know history, do you? No, not really. But there's a guy holding up a group of General Lee's soldiers for a shipment of gold. When threatened with being shot by muskets or whatever, he pulls out a high-powered, high-velocity machine gun and guns all the soldiers to death. Oh well, it's war. Yeah, but that's not really... Anyway, and then we cut to present day. Well, 1994. This movie, most of it takes place in either 1994 or 10 years later, the futuristic year of 2004. Ooh. Young Van Damme, young Max Walker, who's a beat cop, is meeting his wife, Melissa, at the mall on a rainy afternoon. Yeah. So, he meets her, he stops a mugging. He just sees a guy that looks a bit of a loser and thinks, right, he's going to do a nugger, I better stop him. With a static leg stretch. And then he and his wife go home and make love, and you see everything. Well, you know, you see his butt, you do see his butt, you see her boobs, yeah. But anyway, after that, it cuts to that night and they're still in bed, or back in bed. They just slept through the whole day after making love. I don't know, maybe. Anyway, Max Walker is called into work, so he heads out, and when he gets to the front door, there are some thugs waiting. Yeah. So they shoot him right in the chest. Shoot his head. That would have been the end of the movie if they did that. Leave him for dead. Then they go inside and blow up his house with his wife inside. Yeah. The end. Not really, of course. It cuts to 2004, 10 years later, and Max Walker, now with long, luxurious hair, and looking a bit rough. Yeah. Well, he's spent the last 10 years grieving, but he works now for TEC, the Time Enforcement Commission, or Committee, or Corporation, I don't know. And he is a time cop. Wait, it doesn't cut straight to 2004. It cuts to 1939. Oh yeah, the stock market crash. You see some guy named Lionel Atwood heading to work on Wall Street in New York, and people are committing suicide all week because the stock market is crashing and people are like losing all their money. So they're thinking, well, best jump out the window. But this is what really happened. Yeah. But he's circling all of the stocks and bonds that he can buy, and he's listening to an iPod. Well, it's like a mini disc player. And how did he get that? Well, it turns out he's from the future. He's travelled back so he can make himself a very rich man. Yeah, right, fine. Now, how did he bring that mini disc back? I don't know, I guess it was in his pocket. I don't know. Turns out he used to be a time cop as well. But his ex-partner, Jean-Claude Van Damme, yeah, Max Walker, comes through time, and he comes through time like it's like a big bubble in the air. Yeah, he kind of appears out of nowhere, but the nowhere expands to let him through. It's weird. I mean, it's pretty cool, especially for 1994. It's not too bad. There are some effects later which are dad. Real dad. At the end, yeah. Anyway, he says, well, Lionel Atwood, I'm here to arrest you, take you back to 2004, you'll be punished for your time crimes. And Atwood tells him, I'm working for this Senator Nicole, who's going to be president. He's like sent it back to make loads of money for him, and I get to keep a load of money as well. And then he calls security in the building. Van Damme gives him the look, and then Van Damme beats these guys up.
I went 10 rounds with John L. Sullivan himself.
I saw Tyson beat Spinks on TV.
Guys, that must cause riddles, because these guys are definitely hospitalised and unemployed. Riddles! Well, I don't know. But while he's beating up these guys, Atwood takes a chance, jumps out the window, and thinks, I would rather jump to my death than go back and face Macomb, because Macomb will go back through time and take out my entire family history. Well, he wouldn't know anything about it if it happened, I guess. But Van Damme catches him, presses a little button on his little device, and they land back in 2004. Yeah. And then Atwood won't say a word to the judges about Nicole. So Van Damme's like, hey, speak up, tell them. And he's like, no. And so he's sentenced to death. So they just put him straight back where he was, falling from that building. Yeah.
Immediately.
Poor bastard. Tomorrow might have been a brighter day.
At Max Walker's workplace, we also meet his boss and best friend, Matuzak, and we meet Ricky, who is a pervert. We get full frontal nudity from a lady here. Yes, we do. And Ricky, who kind of launches the pods remotely, he is, yeah, he's basically using the technology as a sex toy. At work! Sack this man? Yeah, they probably should. Walker tells Matuzak all about Macomb.
Tell you this, if I cannot go back to save her, this scumbag is not going back to steal money.
Go home, Max.
So he does. He goes home and gets drunk. Yeah, and watches VHS videos. He watches old home videos of his wife building like a birdhouse or something. What's better stuff than that? I'm sure you filmed that sex scene. No. Anyway, he wakes up next morning to find two bad lads in his house, and it's a knife fight. Pretty cool. Although Walker has one knife, the dad guy has two knives, but the dad guy just concentrates both knives on Walker's one knife. I know what you mean. I know. Anyway, Van Damme beats him, knocks him out, and Walker also has like this big jug of water in his house, and that gets knocked over in the fracas, and then the guy's reset his taser, fires it at Walker. Walker jumps up, does incredible splits.
50,000 volts, mother. Have a nice day.
Aye, mate. And that's the first time this guy dies in this movie. Oh, yeah. Back at work, Walker is teamed up with an IA agent. Fielding says she's investigating. She has to keep an eye on him because his partner, Atwood, turned out to be dirty. So IA just want to make sure he's not dirty. So they go on a mission together. They go time traveling in these little weird pods, and like their faces go funny. And I don't know how this makes sense because it's like they're fired off in these little cars, right? And then just before they hit a wall, they vanish, and they appear back in time in 1994, but not in the pod, not in the car, just on their own. So they're like catapulted. I don't know. It never goes into how it works, and I'm quite thankful that it doesn't go into how it works because I think they would just end up shooting themselves in the foot and going round in circles because it would make no sense. It does make no sense. Yeah, I know, but... And then they go and find a warehouse that they're looking for, and it's Parker McComb Industries, and it turns out this is where Senator McComb first made a bit of a name for himself. He and his partner Parker were making some sort of futuristic chip, and Parker is just about to buy out McComb for a few $1,000s. But then McComb from the future arrives to say, don't take that money, don't cash that check. These chips will be worth billions in the future. And they kill Parker. They do kill Parker. And then Walker and Fielding arrive. Oh, and McComb's also brought some goons, of course, including the one who zapped earlier. Yeah, he's fine now. Walker and Fielding have McComb and his goons bang to rights. They're pointing their guns at him. And then Fielding turns out to be dirty. She's also working for McComb. She turns her gun on Walker, and then it's a big running fight. Yeah, Walker manages to get away. He fights several of the goons, pretty good fights, decent, yep. And then the last guy has a nice day. He freezes his arm, and then kicks him to his death.
Have a nice day.
But McComb gets away. Yeah, McComb gets away because he shoots Fielding. Goes back to the future. Great Scott. Walker goes back to the future, and no one really remembers him. No one recognises him. His best friend Matuzak is like, did I know you? And all this, even though he's in a time enforcement uniform, and he must know how time travel works and how like things can. I mean, the whole point of that force is to stop ripples and to stop like things like this happening. But Matuzak can't seem to think, oh, something must have happened, something must have been changed from the past, etc., etc. So Van Damme's like, listen, I know I just came back, and I know you don't know me, but you're my best friend, your life's goulash is disgusting, and that sounds sexual, yeah.
You'll have to wait while I get off right.
Was I your only friend?
Help me go back to 1984 because Fielding might just be alive, and then I can prove that McComb is dirty. It's a strange little scene because he basically goes back to the future to go back to the past, and it's an excuse to kick people in the head though. Yeah. And the Tuzak, who hardly knows him, is like, okay, I'll help you, I'll give up my pension, my career, and my life. Yeah, he ends up dead. Yeah. So, sorry, Tuzak. Walker doesn't seem to care. Well, he makes it back to 1994. He's got a little device he can speak to and say, tell me all the Jane Does who were admitted into the hospitals around here in the last 24 hours. Yeah, it's like a Daraxis with his little toy. Goes to the hospital, finds Fielding is alive, and then he speaks to her. He says, help me take down McComb. She says, yeah, I'm sorry, I will help you. So he goes next door to the lad, finds a vial of her blood, and then sees another vial of her blood next to it that says, Walker, Melissa. And it's his wife. She's pregnant. Yeah, that's lucky that it was the same hospital. Yeah. He goes back to Fielding's room and she's dead. She's been killed. Two bad lads, they're bad guys, but their haircuts are even worse. They're terrible. They're pretty bad. Walker manages to get away. He makes it to the mall, and this is the same day from the start of the movie. Not the Civil War stuff. No, at the mall. He sees that guy dressed like a loser. Yeah, the handbag thief, and just attacks him.
This is what you're going to do.
And then he goes and sees his wife, who's like, oh my god, who's this stinking old man? You look disgusting, Nate. He briefly explains what's going on to her, and she believes it straight away. Well, he does look, he's still Van Damme, I guess. He's still got that duck. He says, go and meet 1994 me. Don't tell him what's going on. Go home with him. Do what you're going to do. Make love. I'll watch. No, he doesn't say that. And then, that night, when 1994 Walker is called into work, 2004 Walker is there to beat up the bad guys. Yeah. So there's a big fight. And then young Van Damme and old Van Damme are fighting these bad guys. They don't really need, they kind of catch a glance at each other, but it doesn't matter. And then McComb appears from the future. And he's like, right, now I've got some C4 here. It'll kill us all, but it doesn't matter because now 1994 self will go on to be me in the future and be the president. Or just repeat this cycle. Yeah, that might happen. I don't really understand it. But basically, all the goons are dead. 2004 Walker is in a room, in the bedroom, with 2004 McComb and 1994 still alive, you mean? Yeah. And 1994 Melissa. Yeah, this like she died after that. Well, yeah. So anyway, McComb says, I'm going to blow up the whole place, and in the future, I'll win. So, goodbye. Yeah, but then, 1994 McComb comes in.
What are you doing here? What do you mean? You called me. Left a message with the Senate operator. I didn't leave any message.
Don't argue among yourself. I left it.
So now McComb can't blow the place up, even though he set off a timer. That he says, hey, you should stick to high kicking. Now I'm going to shoot your wife, and I'm going to shoot you, and then that'll be that. Pretty much. But we found out earlier in the movie that the same matter can't occupy the same space. So if you go back in time and meet yourself younger, yeah, you can't shake their hand or anything or give them a hug because that's the same matter occupying the same space and it'll cause something bad to happen. I'll tell you what it causes to happen. Terrible, terrible, terrible CGI. This is like Blade. Oh yeah, the end, see when he fights the monster and it's big CGI blobs. Yeah. This is my least favourite part of the film. I mean, pretty cool line from Van Damme.
Same matter can occupy some space. I'm still kicking. I must be on Broadway.
But that special effect, even back then when I watched it for the first time, I was kind of like... Oh. Anyway, he carries Melissa out the house. The house still explodes. McComb and McComb are dead. He lays his unconscious wife next to his unconscious younger self and heads back to the future. Yeah, and he heads back to the future, right? And everyone's like, hey, here's Walker, our best friend. And Chuzak's alive, and he's like, hey, you okay? And Walker's saying all this crazy stuff. And again, the Chuzak isn't like, oh, you must have gone through time and something must have happened because he's talking crazy. Yeah.
Yeah,
Look, if you want time off, ask for it. Don't act like you're out of your head.
I've got a blank spot.
A blank spot? You got a hole in your head.
And then he heads home in his self-driving car, but it doesn't take him to some cool apartment where he drinks whiskey and watches videos. It takes him back to his old house, which blew it up. Oh yeah. Well, it seems to be rebuilt somehow. Melissa is good at not just building birdhouses, but also human houses. I guess so, because the house is as good as it ever was. He gets home, the door opens, Melissa's standing there, and then out runs her son kid, his son, her son, who he's never met. Yeah, he's got no memory of this kid, but so he's gonna be like, what's your name again? That's gonna be awkward. Maybe it's on the bedroom door or on a stool inside his underwear or something. What? Like when he does the washing, he'll see the name. Jesus Christ. Anyway, that is the end. Happy ending for Max Walker. Lovely. So that's Timecop. Any trivia? Yes. So Timecop, the movie, is based on Timecop, the comic. Alright, Dark Horse Comics. Did you ever read it? No, I didn't. That's quite interesting. I know there was a sequel to this. Oh, Van Damme? No. I think there was a short-lived TV series as well. That'd be good. That's what this movie is missing. It would have been good to see another couple of little time travel adventures where like Walker has to go back to like ancient Egypt and beat up a pharaoh. Well, I know what you mean, but yeah, maybe not that extreme, but I get the idea. Anything else? Yeah. This is the first of 3 movies Van Damme made with director Peter Hyams. Right, okay, what else did Peter Hyams direct? Enemies Closer. Right, that's alright. And then the very end, that's hilarious. Okay. And, what's the ice skating one? Ice skating one. What? Sudden Death. Sudden Death. That sounds good. That is good. That's Van Damme's Die Hard. Die Hard in a skating rink. Okay, I've changed my mind. It sounds terrible. Well. But that is Timecop from 1994. Have you seen it? Did you see it back in the day? Let us know what you think. It's so good. This is full of plot holes. It's ridiculous and stupid stuff going on that I really enjoyed it. More Van Damme, please. Well, we've got a month of Van Damme coming up, so enjoy. I will, I hope. You will. Hit like, hit subscribe, watch another video. Never enough time.